the richest man in Babylon's third cure for a lean purse, and that is to make your gold multiply. Now, they don't use the term, but what they're really talking about is compound interest and the power of compound interest, uh, and combining the power of compound interest with the idea of long-term investing. No day trading, no short term. We're talking long term. Get rich slow instead of get rich quick. Get rich quick is unlikely to work. Get rich slow works almost every time it's tried. So we want to give you something that always works. So the ultimate goal of this strategy is passive income. Now, passive income is income that comes in whether you work or not. If you are on vacation, money comes in. If you are working, money comes in. If you are retired, money comes in. Whatever happened, money comes in. That's what rich is about. Rich is not about a high income. I know a lot of doctors who make a very high income, but I actually don't consider them to be rich because they have to work all the time. And if they stop working, money stops coming in. And that is not what we are defining as rich. So what rich is all about is this idea of passive income. Okay, I'll give you a quick example here on the power of compound interest. We're going to use a 30-year time frame, so we'll sort of assume if you were, let's say, 25, 30 years old. How much money would you have in your 50s? Now, again, if you're 25, 30, that seems like forever. But again, for almost everybody, it's going to be there before you know it. So I'm going to use an example of $500 a month. Though anybody who's one of my students would recognize this. I use the $500 a month example all the time because it's based on this idea we've been talking about throughout the course here. If you made $60,000 a year for your gross income, 10%, which is what the first rule was, said you should be saving 10% or $500 a month. So that's kind of where that comes from. So using $500 a month, if you earn nothing at all, you'd still have basically $180,000 in your retirement when you're getting at least ready to retire, and that'd be a lot more. $180,000 of actual cash, investment money, not equity in a house or anything like that. That's way more money than almost everybody has. You would be shocked if you could see how little money most people have. So earning a little 2%. This is a 5-year CD at the bank. You'd have almost $250,000. 5%, you'd have 416. 8%, almost $750,000. But here's the one I want you to focus on. I use this for most of my investing courses. The idea of earning 12%. Now, a lot of people argue that, well, gee, how can you earn 12%? Again, what they don't understand, that is an average. That's not great. 12% is the average rate of return of the overall stock market over the last 90 years. So that's nothing special. But if you did 12%, that's $1.7 million, as you can see there. So $1.747 million, and you'd be 55 years old. That changes your life. That really does. If you could just do a little better, if you had a little more training, you knew a little what you were doing, you don't need much to earn 12. But let's say you could earn 20. Now you're a multi-millionaire. Now you've got more than $10 million. Now, how'd we get that? It didn't happen overnight. You didn't win the lottery. We had a long-term time perspective. Notice little education if you learn what you're doing. Now, if you just follow the rules, the 1, 2, 3, you're going to do better than almost everyone else. But if you just learn a little more to earn a higher rate of return than zero, or 2, you're going to get those numbers that we talk about. Now, as your interest rates or rates of return go up, generally speaking, in investments, we talk about it has higher risk, but it also has a higher reward. And you have to weigh both. And we want to be cautious, and we're going to talk about that more as this course develops. You don't want to be crazy and do wild stuff just to earn high rates of return, because then you're going to lose money too. Now, the theme in this chapter is money is your slave. And what this is, you want your money to work hard for you. Everybody has heard that you should work hard. And that's good. But you don't get rich by you working hard. You get rich by having your money work hard for you. That's what we're trying to accomplish. And this happens, as on the previous slide, it's got to be long-term, and it's the power of compound interest. It won't feel that dramatic in a couple of years, or certainly months, even a few years. It doesn't feel like you're making a lot of progress. But as it compounds and grows, the interest earns interest on the interest. That's where the power comes from. While you're sleeping, you're getting richer. Whereas when you're working for your money, while you're sleeping, nothing's happening. And if anything, you're getting poorer because your expenses are compounding. Okay. Visualize we have 2 workers. Both of you graduated from school, same time, same major. You end up getting a job in the same factory or the same cubicle. So you're each making $60,000 a year. One of you does what we've been talking about in this course. They took this course, and as a result, they learned very little else, but they did decide they were going to save 10%. They're going to have $1.74 million if they earn 12% for 30 years. So they're going to wake up age 55, and they open the mail, and they see their statement, and they got $1.74 million. Okay, your best friend, who you lifelong buddies, you've been hanging out, working at the same job, same desk. Neither of you very good. You're still making $60,000 a year. Nobody got a promotion. You've been sharing this cubicle for 30 years. How much do you have? You didn't save any money. You had a good time. You probably had more fun than the other guy for 30 years. Maybe you drove a slightly better car. Maybe you lived in a little bit better house. I don't know what it is. But after 30 years, you're still working for a living. If you had done the save 10% route, you now have choices. Now, if you like your job and you like your idiot coworker here, you can continue to do it. If you don't like your job and have always wanted to do something else, $1.74 million in the bank allows you to do that. So it gives you options. Maybe you don't want to work at all. Maybe you're done. You just want to sit back and retire. $1.74 million will allow you to do that. So this is what choices are all about. It changes your whole attitude. Even if you continue working, you don't have any stress. If the boss screws you over, you don't care. You can quit. You can tell the boss, take a hike. That power, that is, it'll change your entire attitude towards work. Okay, so in the earlier chapter, when we were doing budgeting, which is what everybody views as a little bit the painful parts of all this, I always say the reason people don't want to put up with the pain is they don't understand the reward. No one's really ever explained to them in school what we've just talked about. That as little as $500 per month, invested at 12% for 30 years, accumulates to $1.7 million. And again, even that doesn't say enough about the reward. It's just a number. What is the reward is, let's say you're 55 now. You could pull out just under $18,000, $17,974 per month at 12% for 30 years. basically from 55 to 85. And that's basically your life expectancy. So if you will pay the little price necessary, have the discipline we've been talking about of saving $500 a month. You do that for 30 years. The reward is you pull out $18,000 for the rest of your life, effectively. That is life-changing money. That's almost no one does this. This is why so few people make it financially. That's the difference. Now, why are people rich? If we were to ask you at the beginning of this class, why are people rich? Here's the type responses almost everyone gives. Well, rich people are lucky. Not that they worked hard or they did smart things with their money. Now, rich people are all lucky. That's what poor people say. And by the way, if you've ever heard yourself say some of these things, you need to work on your mindset. So, this isn't about these things, as you're going to see. It's not that they were luckier. It is not that they had a better job. There are people, I've worked with people who make upwards of $1 million a year, and they have no money. They spend it all. They're not doing step one. They're not doing step two. They're not controlling their expenditures. And they got a great job. Remember my real estate agents making $500,000 a year and not saving any money. So it's not the job. They aren't more talented. I know a lot of wealthier people who aren't very talented. They're not smarter or don't have a higher IQ. Some of my neighbors when I was in California couldn't play Trivial Pursuit. They couldn't read the cards, much less answer the questions. And yet they were millionaires many times over. So it's not more talent. It's not higher IQ. It's not related to better job, the idea they had a high salary. I've talked about doctors who make $500,000, $1 million a year and have no money. They receive more promotions than everybody else. Well, that would be a sort of corollary of the higher salary, but that's not it. They have a higher college degree. Ooh, they have a PhD. Now, there is actually some data that shows you will make more money over your career the more education you have. That is probably true. That doesn't mean you're going to have that passive income we're talking about. I know a lot of PhD types who have no money, even business PhDs. Maybe rich people have family money. They think of the Kennedys and the Rockefellers and, that's not it. Most people don't have that. Most people who have made millions and billions of dollars made it from scratch, believe it or not. If you look at the Forbes 400 list, most are self-made. People don't like to accept that because it reflects poorly in their mind on their life. They like to think all these things were true. I'm telling you, no, they're not. The people who make it financially followed the first three laws we've been talking about. They saved 10% and they did it first. They paid themselves first. They controlled their expenditures, which allowed them to save the 10%. And then they took that money and were smart with it and invested it long term. So your action steps for this module are basically decide how much per month you can save. Go back through that budgeting process we did earlier and figure out how much you can save. Then set up that as an automatic payment strategy. So you're going to do it, most people do this online, where you're going to send a certain amount from your checking account or into your investment account, but set it up to be automatic and commit to doing it every month. Don't decide each month, should I do it this month or not? Make it like we talked about earlier. Comes out of your payroll first and then live on the rest. And what are you invested in? We tend to, there are lots of different things, and this is not really a pure investment advisory kind of course. I'll just give you one example. Find yourself what's called do a Google search of a stock index fund. Stock index fund. That's what will average the rate of return of the overall stock market. That's what you're trying to do here. You're not trying to maximize. You're not trying to be a financial wizard. You want to average whatever the stock market is doing. And that'll over time tend to be around 11, 12%. That's all you're trying. And you can get that with a stock index fund. The one that I have always recommended to my students, and I did it solely because they're the biggest, they're the first, and Warren Buffett, when he dies, is already specified in his will that all the money he gives to his wife, she's going to invest in that. She doesn't have any choices. All of his billions of dollars that go to the wife are going to be invested in this particular investment, and that's the Vanguard 500 index fund. Vanguard 500 index fund. Now, again, it's not a recommendation, not guaranteeing you're going to make any money, all my standard disclosures. But that will get you started on track. So take care of that. Actually do that before you do the next module.